began our sessions on the modern theories of human nature by referencing Machiavelli. And one thing that was important when I referenced Machiavelli is that Machiavelli is not interested per se in the truth of the matter, what is and what is not. He is more interested in what he calls the effectual truth of the matter. What can be projected upon a person and felt by another, and hence what can be made true through one's projection. When we turn to our third thinker for today, David Hume, we see something very interesting going on in his interpretation and understanding of human nature. Hume wants to remove, like Machiavelli, our mindset from thinking about truth. He wants us instead to think about the impressions of things. So when he takes up human nature, he takes up human nature from the accounting of the impression that the objective world lends upon ourselves as subjects. In fact, he will tell us that the only thing that we can know about this world are the impressions that we have, how we feel when someone or something is impressed upon us. So questions about virtue, vice, humility, and pride all are accounted for based upon their impression upon us. Let me explain. When we see or view an activity that hurts us, that makes us feel unease, we account for that activity that we're viewing as a vice. When we view something that is beautiful, that is good, it's not good or beautiful or true in and of itself, but it produces a sense of pleasure within us. So what Hume is doing here is he's locating the truth of the matter in the subjective experience of whatever that thing is. All things are subjective experiences. All things run through our moral sentiments that process the world around us. So we see a crime committed, we call it a crime because it's produced unease. If we see a transgression, we call it a transgression because it produces unease. This is a very, very interesting conception that he is giving us, and that's a conception that the truth of the matter is not in the matter itself, but in our processing of that matter. So how does this take into account, or how does Hume take into account pride and humility? Well, when we do things that produce pleasure in others, we take pride in that. So when we are virtuous, our virtuous activity, if it produces happiness in another, could produce a reverse effect of pride in us. When we do something that is detrimental to another, when we feel shame because of the reaction of another, what we've done there is we've tended towards a direction of humility. So here I think what Hume is trying to move us away from is a Christian ethic whereby we understand pride and humility in the sense of the Gospels, and we process it differently in terms of the impressions that our activities lead upon others. Now, the second thing that's important for Hume, and that is his question that he relates in the second part of the reading that I assigned for you today. Where does morality come from? And here you're going to see a parallel between what I just said about virtue and vice and his assessment of morality. Morality doesn't come from an assessment of objective moral truth. Morality is not something that we see in the objective world. All of morality is found in our impression of that objective world. Hence, there is no morality outside of the human being. All morality comes through impression. Now, why is that going to be important for Hume? It's going to be important for the following reason. He's going to argue that there is a natural basis to morality, and that comes through the subject's experiencing of the world around us. You cannot understand morality other than that subjective experience. Does art play a part in changing the way that we have things impressed upon us? Does it play a part in changing our manners over time? Yes, there's an allowance there that Hume makes that the way that we see virtue and the way that we see vice may change by how we are educated. But at the end of the day, what is most essential to Hume in understanding all things are the sensory impressions that we feel of them.